From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Barris here on a Monday. Hope you had a good weekend. I did. It was nice. Back in the saddle this morning, and we're going to get rolling, taking your phone calls. If you want to join in the conversation, we talk about animals, specifically your pets, cats, dogs. You know, we're getting to the time of year now where things start getting cooler. We're going through the transition of the seasons, and I don't know, you may have some questions about that, flea, tick control, all of that kind of stuff. Other things as well. Anything goes, because our guest, over the years of dealing with me, is well trained in answering absurd questions. So the number is 737-7587 to talk to Ask the Vet. That would be Allison Fields. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to have you on.
It's wonderful to be here.
It's been a while, and this is a new scrub. I mean, it's just a new color scrub.
This is new.
Oh, is that new? But I don't know. Maybe it just looks different.
I've had this one, maybe.
The green scrub. There's all different color scrubs.
There's a cajillion different colors
and
now.
On this, it says DVM.
Yes.
And is that a caduceus that is the same as a human medical doctor's caduceus, or is that a specific veterinary caduceus?
It is very similar, except it has a V in it, which stands for veterinary.
Veterinary.
But it's the medical caduceus with a V.
Which represents what, if you will? So you got you on that one. Talk about absurd questions.
At one point.
Well, it's representative of the oath that they take to heal and cure.
I thought you wanted the Greek mythology behind the snake.
No, well, if you know that, I don't know that one.
I used to at one point. But yes, no, it's represented. Yes, that's the easy answer.
The caduceus is you are here to, you will do
no harm.
Do no harm.
Above all, do no harm. Yes.
But I mean, that you do have to sometimes euthanize animals.
That's not harm.
I know. I wanted you to say exactly.
If they are ill and suffering, I personally feel like it's one of the biggest blessings that we have as veterinarians.
I agree with you. I agree.
While it's very, very difficult, I do think it's one of the biggest blessings that we have, that we can end suffering. And, you know, I personally know that I have not ever euthanized anything that didn't need to go to heaven. And sometimes people get angry with me and yell and cuss and leave me in tears because I wouldn't euthanize their animal.
When they bring them in, sometimes
Correct.
you have a certain criteria, litmus test to determine whether or not an animal.
If they're running around barking and happy and the owners are moving to Phoenix the next day.
Yeah.
It's an euthanasia of convenience, and I'm not in for that. That's not what I signed up for.
You are exactly right.
People get very angry with veterinarians a lot, and that's one of the reasons.
Well, good for you. You're going to stick to your guns, and they're wrong. They are wrong. There's no debating that issue. There are other options besides. My wife and I just had an issue where there was a dog that we knew. We were actually showing up to bring two big dog bones to this home that had this animal, and it was just a sweet big dog. And then we went back over there a couple weeks after the fact, and the dog's no longer there. And we asked a neighbor, and she said, well, she had a new roommate that came in with another dog, and the bigger dog was hassling it, so she had a friend come over and shoot the big dog.
Why did you tell me that?
I know, I'm sorry, but just about ruined dogs. Well, I'm just trying to give an example of the idiots that are out there. If you go around shooting dogs for reasons like that, you're an idiot.
All right? I think that might be a crime.
It should be a crime, but it was after the fact, the dog gone, we don't know, but it just made me sick. There are other options.
Did you still go there?
No, I mean, we didn't. I mean, we couldn't. At that point, the dog wasn't there. The person who was involved wasn't there, and it was probably for the best that I didn't encounter that person at that moment.
Right.
You would have said some nasty things. I mean, there's just better ways. I understand people sometimes can't keep a dog at that point.
There's rescues out there, and the problem is that, you know, poor planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part.
Right.
And so when people are moving and they can't take their dog with them, I'm fairly certain that they knew they were moving more than 24 hours.
Yeah, right.
And so there are plenty of rescues out there that are no-kill facilities. There are a lot of options that people just don't even, they're like, I'll figure it out later. And then they have this dog, they're moving the next day, or somebody's moving in with other animals. It's, it's very, it's very sad.
It is sad. And some of the people at the shelters, I told you the story before about how the woman who brought the animal in because she couldn't keep the dog anymore because she got a new couch and the dog didn't match with the couch. How about that one?
It's awesome.
What is wrong
I wish she was my
with
friend.
people? What is wrong? Yeah, so you could say, I don't want to be your friend anymore. Right. Hey, we're going to get to the phone call, 737-7587, questions and the like about dogs. I want to ask you this. It's just, you hear so much these days about medical marijuana and the changes. Right. You know, here in Metro, they've decriminalized it. It's not legal here still. But in a lot of states now, more and more, medical marijuana especially. Are there any applications to your knowledge, and you wouldn't deal with it yet here because it's Tennessee, that
Correct.
you've heard of medical marijuana for pets in veterinary medicine?
Very, very limited that I have read about.
Yeah.
There are some articles out there. I think what people need to understand is that animals metabolize things very differently than humans. And like, you know, we can take one medication, Benadryl, for example. You know, our dose of Benadryl is minuscule compared to the dose that dogs take, and it's just how they metabolize things.
Sure.
So I would caution people to not be using medical marijuana in their pets without talking to either a veterinarian or somebody who specializes in that with animals, because I've seen it when I used to work at the emergency clinic. I've seen animals come in that were stoned who got into a tiny bit
of marijuana. And they ate it,
and they
not
ate
knowing.
it.
Okay.
But tiny amounts compared to what people might ingest, and it can become, you know, severe in animals. So you need to not do that. Just like don't give your dog or cat any human medicine without first talking to your veterinarian.
Right. Okay, I was just wondering, other applications down the road may come up for that.
And I think that there will be. I think that it's going to probably be a severely diluted effect that we would use in animals. But I have read a couple of articles, and I think that, you know, as more studies are done, we'll find more information out. But currently, let's not do that.
Yeah, let's not. I don't know what application it would be for anyway with a pet, so don't do it. Don't do it. All right, listen, we'll get to the phone calls after the first break, but this time of year now, it's getting cooler.
Yes.
People at this point, can they just ease off on their tick control? Probably not a smart move. Tick and fleas, since it's getting cold, they're going away?
I think that that's a great question, and I think there's a couple of different ways to look at it.
Right.
If you've not had any fleas at all, and you've been maintaining your animal on good flea and tick control, I think that as soon as we have a good hard freeze, you can probably stop. If you've had some flea problems this summer, more than normal, we did have a fairly heavy flea season. So if you've kind of been battling them, not bad, or even if you have been battling them fairly aggressively, I would not stop your flea control. I would go ahead and do it throughout the winter. And the reason is that if we stop our flea control and we have just a few fleas hanging on outside, inside, on the dog, whatever, they're laying eggs. Those eggs are falling off into your carpet, your upholstery, whatever in your house.
What a drag.
We turn the heat on because it starts getting cold out.
Yep.
And in about January, late January, early February, it's been warm enough in your house that the fleas think they're outside and it's springtime, and they respond to two things to hatch: warmth and pressure on them when you walk across them. So your heat's up, you're walking across your floor, you have a flea outbreak, and I'm not kidding, I see flea outbreaks, animals covered in fleas in January and February, and this is why.
Yeah.
So if you've had any bit of flea issues this year, you know, even just seen a few, you know, I would suggest just go ahead and use it all the way through this year, because then you're going to have a really good head start for next year.
Okay, and the bottom line, we can get more into this with our callers. The flea and tick control out there is so good these days.
It's wonderful. And do remember, if you
stop
your flea control, some of the flea controls also are combined with heartworm prevention. So you can't stop that heartworm prevention in the winter. You need to continue that for heartworms and for intestinal parasites.
Keep that in mind, yeah.
So if you're using a combination product, you either need to continue using it, or you can talk to your veterinarian about maybe just doing a heartworm prevention through the winter and not doing a flea control.
That's a great point, because you stop one and you definitely need the other one.
Yeah.
All right, listen, let's take a break on that note. We've got a couple calls coming in. The number 737-7587 for Allison Fields. Questions, comments, observations about your pet. We'll take them, all right? And I'm going to ask her some questions about how I care for my new chickens. Yeah, I've got poultry.
Where are my eggs?
I've got eggs. We'll be right back after this.